I want to try a little exercise with you that's called cognitive diffusion. This can be a really helpful way of trying to not get hooked into our thoughts and feelings. And it's a very short and simple kind of practice, but when we use it over time and get more habitual with it, it really can change how sticky and how powerful our thoughts and feelings are and how we engage with them. And that's really the most effective way to change how our thoughts affect us. We can't always control our brain and what thoughts are generated and what comes up, but we can definitely change how we relate with our thoughts and what we do with those thoughts. So the first step in this is just to come up with maybe there's a common thought that comes up for you in certain situations, or there's one that's really familiar to you. It's a difficult or negative thought, or maybe it's one that you've had recently, that today or this week. If you can't think of any examples, a really common one that people might have at some given time is, I can't cope. And you could use that as your example to practice with today. And what we want to do is just repeat that phrase in our mind over and over again. I can't cope. I can't cope. And the next step is I want you to introduce a beginning to that. That is, I'm having the thought that I can't cope. I'm having the thought that I can't cope, or whatever it is that you're working with in this exercise. And just repeat that phrase in your mind several times. I'm having the thought that I can't cope. And do you notice anything about how the feeling changes? Does the thought change in intensity? And you might not notice any change, and that's completely okay. Don't change anything. We're just practicing with a way of thinking. And then the next step is adding one more part to this. I notice I'm having the thought that I can't cope. So, whatever phrase you're working with, add, I notice I'm having the thought that I can't cope. And just repeat that phrase over and over in your mind. And just notice how that feels. And it might not feel any different. That's okay. So, the purpose of cognitive diffusion is the idea is that we don't have to control our thoughts, and our brain is just kind of a machine or a computer. It generates its own thoughts, and they're going to come and go no matter what. We can't really control that. And the idea is when we become an observer and when we acknowledge our thoughts as an observer, that creates a bit of a gap. And in that gap is intention and purpose and goals and values. And when we create enough of a gap, we allow ourselves to not get hooked into whatever that thought is. Oh, I can't cope with this. I'm never going to be able to do this. And we don't get caught up in the story and lost. Well, we've created a space that allows us to decide what we want to do with that thought and what that feeling is like for us. We get to decide what to do next. So we're not defined by it. The thought doesn't determine what we do. We get to create space. So that's what cognitive diffusion is. And this is something that comes about with practice. We're not going to catch every thought and observe it. When you have the thought come up and you have the ability to catch it, you just practice with that. You say, oh, I notice I'm having that not good enough thought again. Or there's the I'm a screw up thought again. And you start to label it as somebody who's observing. And you just keep practicing with it. So give it a try. Just try those 3 steps and just try labeling thoughts and see where it goes for you. And it takes a bit of time and it takes some practice, and that's okay. See how it works.